summarize about the current scenario, the growth, evolution, and adoption in India and abroad. As it is detailed in this picture is from the source which is below. Several countries have a compulsory mandate in place. For example, if you see Singapore, at 2015, they have made BIM mandatory for all the buildings which is above 5,000 square meter, and also all the other countries like Austria, Hong Kong, Korea, Denmark, Russia, Finland, Sweden, UK, and United States are having compulsory mandate for BIM. So they are much more matured in adopting these processes, whereas other countries such as Norway and Austria also have mandates, but they are open. And there are few other countries which are following up. They are Scotland, Qatar, Mexico, Chile, and Peru. So there are few other countries which are planning on BIM adoption. They are New Zealand, Czech, Italy, and Switzerland. So in this, comparing with other countries, India is slowly adopting BIM. So these are few BIM adoption rates in different countries per year. It's again from a conference paper. For us, it is taken for a span of 2014 to 18. We see that United States, Denmark, and Canada have a better adoption rate by project-wise and also scope-wise. In India, there are few projects which have utilized BIM. There are 4 examples listed here. One is Personal Rapid Transit in Amritsar. The scope of BIM was for scheduling, planning, designing, and also for construction. And even the Bangalore Airport Terminal 2, they used BIM, Autodesk 360 as a CDE for design and planning. And then comes Metro Rail projects, Nagpur and Delhi Metro. So as you see here, the BIM is implemented at for different scopes for different projects. I was talking about the life cycle for life cycle utilization as well. So there is an illustration to substantiate that. For example, if you see the conceptual design phase, these are the few areas wherein which we can utilize BIM for site logistics, laser scanning for as-built models using point clouds, AR and VR, that is augmented reality and virtual reality, photogrammetry using drones, and to create mesh models of the actual existing objects. And for design, we have AI-based tools for form finding, and also for modeling organic shapes as well. Next is 4D sequencing, that is the time parameter. 5D is cost for estimation. LCA and sustainability, that is 60. Digital document and management. So this comes under the documentation scope. Design coordination and issue, this clash coordination. And during the construction phase, also this point goes well for the design phase as well. We virtually construct the building and resolve all the clashes. And while we are on site, we'll have no surprises to face. So these are a few of the tasks that are associated with virtual design and construction. Trade modeling and shop drawings, model-based coordination to resolve the clashes, virtual mock-up to build the systems and the assemblies as it will be built on site, and to identify value and eliminate the waste. Prefabrication and AR. AR is employed on site as well, augmented reality. And next comes as-built models and integration with building automation system, processes in BIM, facility management. So this comes in the operation phase, after when the building is actually constructed, and the BIM model acts as a digital twin, which aids in the maintenance and operation of the building. So as we saw earlier, the scope of BIM is not restricted to a building. It can be for different scope from macro to micro on different components of the built environment. So here it is listed. It can be for architecture and building design, for civil and structural engineering, for energy and utilities, highway and road engineering, landscape and land surveying, surveying, offshore and marine architecture, rail and metro, tunneling. So we saw a few Indian examples for this as well. And every project scope can be more authored using different tools and process. One model authoring software need not necessarily, or it cannot necessarily take care of all the components which are listed. So these are few of the softwares which are widely used. It is not holistic. For design intent visualizations and AR and VR, will be mostly into these softwares currently in the industry. 3ds Max, Revit, Enscape, SketchUp, Twinmotion, Unreal. This Enscape, Twinmotion, Unreal, and SketchUp are now into AR and VR because of its user-friendly interface and easy to learn ability. And for BIM modeling, Autodesk Revit is very widely used across different industries. Trimble and Bentley are also who's next to Revit. For document management, these are a few examples: Bluebeam Revo, PlanGrid, BIM 360 Docs, 360 Glue. 360 Glue is a platform wherein which different stakeholders upload his or her own model, and they'll be creating a federated model out of the different separate trade models. Navisworks, BIMTrack. BIMTrack is a platform to solve and resolve clashes. Synchro is used for 4D, and Navisworks is used for clash coordination as well as 4D. So these are few emerging trends in the industry. Digital twins are used in the operation and maintenance phase. AR is increasingly employed in the construction and the pre-design phase. VR is employed in the pre-design phase. VR is virtual reality, and MR is mixed reality. That is it's picking up. It's not actually employed widely. And next is artificial intelligence and machine learning. We'll see an example on this particular thing in the coming slides. Digital model as a legal document. And we saw under the BIM adoption rate, different countries have a strict mandate to submit a BIM model for the construction permission requirements. So digital models are considered to be a legal document in few countries. Automation and construction. So with the advent of 3D printing and other automated practices in construction industry, automation is picking up. And we'll see an example of all these three things in the next few slides. So regarding the roles, in the entry level, there are few roles which is project engineer VDC. VDC stands for virtual design and construction, and project BIM modeler or an analyst. So it can be for different scopes such as architectural, structure, site utilities. MEPF is mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire safety. So a project engineer can be on different scopes as listed here. VDC is a term which is widely used in US and other Western countries, and or else BIM is the term that is widely adopted. So BIM coordinator usually manages the models, resolves clashes, and takes care of the management related aspects of the model, whereas a modeler models or do performance analysis as required based on the scopes. When a person is into the technical support or an expert in a particular software, he or she can be a technical specialist. And other roles in senior level can be he or she can be a project manager or a BIM manager. In the top management, he or she can be a BIM lead or a director. Here, one will take care of the training and the strategies that has to be implemented. And for example, we have to design an execution plan or what it has to contain, and or if we are adopting a new tool for a particular process. So those kind of decision making tasks are associated with these top management roles. So this is one of the example of the emerging trends, which is AI in architecture, generative design. So this is just to substantiate that BIM is not just employed in a particular field in a construction, in an eco industry, that is not necessarily restricted to construction or need not necessarily restricted to architecture or any other phase. So here, usually design drives the entire construction process. Generative design utilizes AI-based tools for design optimization. Here, the design is split into two tasks. One is the decision-making process, and second is a set of repetitive tasks. So the repetitive tasks are taken care by AI-based tools, and the role of the designer is restricted just to be a decision maker. And this is a completely a semi-automated process, which is a shift from the conventional paper-based process. And it has to be noted that like Autodesk has recently released a generative design tool for Revit 2021. That was 23 or 2 to 3 days before. And here, generative design technology works on these four aspects. One is we define the high-end goals, we specify the constraints, and the solution to be evaluated. So we are actually in generative design, we are designing a problem and we are choosing the solution. So generate, and the evaluation parameters will be given by us, and the set of constraints will also be provided by us, and the computer using AI-based tools gives us a set of options based on the problem we design and the parameters we gave to evaluate that particular problem. So in the end, what we receive is an optimized design deliverable from the high-end goals and constraints we specify. So these are a few software platforms and techniques that aids the concept we saw before. This is the case study we are going to look at. So this technique was employed at Autodesk Toronto office on a particular scope, that is the interior layout optimization using the technique called multi-objective genetic algorithms. They use these algorithms to generate high performance design based on the parameters that were listed. And few of the parameters that they used to define the problem was work style preference, bus productivity, daylight, and use to outside. And we see a graph in here which travels from one point to the another. Every point which intersects with a vertical line is a solution. So they had around 10,000 design options by varying different input parameters to arrive at one particular design for this particular project. And these are a few of their design goals that they used to evaluate the design options that were delivered. And stepping into the second example, this is a perfect example of a house that was completely constructed using, not completely, it was almost constructed using digital technologies, right from design to planning to fabrication. So this was the world's first inhabited house. It was digitally planned, built with the help of robots and 3D printers. The picture which is on the left has 3D printed columns. The one which I'm highlighting now is a 3D printed column. The ceiling is a 3D printed ceiling. And the wall is a 3D printed concrete wall. So this was developed in collaboration with the industrial partners and also from the academic side by a group of researchers from ETH Zurich. So to get into this domain, basically we need to have the enthusiasm to explore different software platforms and tools and for the eco industry and what value it can give us and how it can give us. And a basic understanding of the workflow and the process is also important. And this is what can distinguish or can be a step out point from the rest of the others. A good grasp on how to utilize those tools and techniques to deliver the expected value. And then skills to collaborate, communicate, and coordinate. So these are the few things that are very important to get into this domain.